ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्रह्महिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरकृषवे नमः। अंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 21, conversation between Manu and Kardama. Text 1. Vidura said, the line of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipable sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. Text 2. The two great sons of Swayambhuva Manu, Pariyavrata and Uttanapada ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. Text 3. O holy Brahmana, O sinless one, you have spoken of his daughter, known by the name Devahuti, as the wife of the sage Kardama, the lord of created beings. Text 4. How many offsprings did that great yogi beget through the princess, who has endowed with eightfold perfection of eightfold perfection in yoga principles? Oh, pray tell, pray tell me this. I am eager to hear it. Text 5. O holy sage, tell me how the worshipful Ruchi and Daksha, the son of Brahma, generated children after securing as their wives and other two daughters of Swayambhuva Manu. Text 6. The great sage Maitreya replied, commanded by Lord Brahma, beget children in the world. The worshipful Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. Text 7. During that period of penance, the sage Kardama worshipped through devotional service in friends, propitiated the personality of Godhead, who is the quick bestower of all blessings upon those who flee to him for protection. Text 8. Then, in the Satya Yuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to that Kardama Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. Text 9. Kardama Muni, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is free from material contamination in his eternal form, effulgent like the sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. The Lord was clad in spotless yellow silk, and his lotus face was fingered with sleek dark locks of curly hairs. Text 10. Adorned with the crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in the three of his hand and white lily in the fourth. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood whose sight captivates the hearts of all devotees. Text 11. A golden streak on his chest, a famous Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck. He stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda. Text 12. When Kardama Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desires was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisance unto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart naturally full of love of God, with folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers. The great sage Kardama Muni said, O Supreme Worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existence. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Text 14. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane missions. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasure of the senses, which even persons rotting in the hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them. Text 15. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like deposition, who may prove to be hurtable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything. Of you are like a desired tree. Text 16. O my Lord, you are the master and the leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned soul, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires, following them. O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblation for you, who are the eternal time. Text 17. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken the shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. Text 18. When you feel when you feel the your wheel, which has three naves, rotates around the axis of the imperishable Brahman. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Through its revolutions, cut shorts the lifespan of the entire creation. This wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. Text 19. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes, O personality of Godhead. Desiring to create the universes, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind up them by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yoga Maya. Just as the spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. 620. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire to manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction, let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. Text 21. I continuously offer my respectful obeisance unto your lotus feet, of which is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant, to give all living entities detachment from the fruitive activities by realizing you. You have expanded this material world by your own energy. Text 22. Maitreya resumed, sincerely extolled in this word, Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Text 23. The Supreme Lord said, having come to know what is in your mind, I have already arranged for which you have worshipped me, both through your mental and sensual discipline. Text 24. The Lord continued, O dear Rishi, O leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any questions of frustration. Text 25. The Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteous acts, that has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 oceans. Text 26. The day after tomorrow, O Brahmana, that celebrated emperor who is expert in religious activities will come here with his queen Satyarupa, who is wishing to see you. Text 27. He has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage, and she has good character, and all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, her parents will come to see you who are exactly suitable for her, who are exactly suitable for her, just to deliver their daughter as your wife. Text 28. That princess, O holy sage, will be just the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. She will soon be yours and will serve you your heart's content. Text 29. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown by you, and through the daughters you beget, the sages will duly beget children. Text 30. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Text 31. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self realization, giving assurance of safety to all. You will perceive your own self as well as the universes in me and myself in you. Text 32. O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife Devahuti along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the same system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. Text 33. Maitreya went on, thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovara, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. Text 34. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. Thus, this sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier Garuda. Text 35. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kardama stayed on the banks of Bindu Sarovara, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. Text 36. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments, placing his daughter on it with them. He began traveling all over the earth. Text 37. O Vidura, they reached the hermitage of the sage who had just completed his vows and austerities on the on the very day foretold by Lord. Text 38 and 39. The holy lake Bindu Sarovara, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was restored to by hosts of eminent sages. This holy water was not only auspicious but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovar because drops of tear had fallen from the eyes of the Lord, was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who has sought his protection. Text 40. The shore of the lake was surrounded by clusters of pious trees and creepers, rich in fruits and flowers of all seasons, that afforded shelter to pious animals and birds, which uttered various cries. It was adorned by the beauty of groves of the forest trees. Text 41. The area resounded with the notes of overjoyed birds. Intoxicated bees wandered at here. Intoxicated peacocks proudly danced, and merry cuckoos called one another. Text 42 and 43. The lake Bindu Sarovar was adorned by flowering trees such as Kadamba, Champaka, Ashoka, Karjana, Karanja, Bakula, Ashana, Kunda, Mandara, Kutaja, and young mango trees. The air was filled with the pleasing notes of Parandava, ducks, Pallavas, swans, ospreys, waterflow, cranes, chakravaktas, and chakoras. Text 44. Its shores abounded with deers, boars, paprikins, gavayas, elephants, baboons, lions, monkeys, mongoose, and musk deer. Text 45 to 45, 46, and 47. Entering that most sacred spot with his daughter and going near the sage, the first monarch Swayambhuva Manu saw the sage sitting in his hermitage, having just propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblation into it. His body shone most brilliantly, though he had engaged in austere penance for a long time. He was not initiated, for the Lord had cast his affectionate sidelong glance upon him, and he had also heard the nectar flowing from the moonlight words of the Lord. The sage was tall, his eyes were large, his large like the petals of a lotus, and he had matted locks on his head. He was clad in rags. Swayambhuva Manu approached and saw him to be somewhat soiled like an unpolished gem. Text 48. Seeing that the monarchs had come to his hermitage was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. Text 49. After receiving the sage's attention, the king sat down and was silent, recalling the instruction of the Lord. Kardama then spoke to the king as follows, delighting him with the sweet accents. Text 50. The tour you have undertaken, O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtuous and kill the demons, since you embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari. Text 51. When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the god of paradise, Vayu, the god of wind, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of pity, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters, all obscene to you, who are none other than Lord Vishnu. Text 52 to 54. If you don't mount your victorious jeweled chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fierce sounds by the twanging of your bow, and if you didn't roam about the world like the brilliant sun, leading a huge army whose tempering feet cause the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the Varna and Ashramas created by the Lord Himself would be broken by the rocks and rascals. Text 55. If you gave up all the thoughts of the world situation, unrighteousness, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish. Text 56. In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here, whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation.
हरे कृष्णा। शुभम प्रभा पढ़ेंगे क्या?
हरे कृष्णा। जी प्रभु
जी।
Chapter 22, The Marriage of Kardam Muni and Devahuti. Text 1. Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows. Text 2. Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his face created you. The Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge, and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification. Text 3. For the protection of the Brahmanas, the thousand-legged Supreme being created us, the Kshatriyas from his thousand arms. Hence, the Brahmanas are said to be his heart, and the Kshatriyas his arms. Text 4. That is why the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect each other as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, and is eight immutable, protects them through each other. Text 5. Now I have resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you. For your lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects. Text 6. It is my good fortune that I have been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet. Text 7. I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened very open ears to your pure words. Text 8. O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. Text 9. My daughter is the sister of Priyabrat and Uttanapad. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities. Text 10. The moment she heard from the sage Narada of your noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you. Text 11. Therefore, please accept her, O chief of the Brahmanas, for I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect fit to be your wife and take charge of your household duties. Text 12. To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. Text 13. One who rejects an offering that comes of its own escort but later begs a boon from a miser thus loses his widespread reputation and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others. Text 14. Swambhu Manu continued, O wise man, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy. Text 15. The great sage replied, Certainly I have a desire to marry, and your daughter has not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage according to the Vedic system can take place. Text 16. Let your daughter's desire for marriage, which is recognized in the Vedic scriptures, be fulfilled. Who would not accept her hand? She is so beautiful that by her body luster alone she excels the beauty of her ornaments. Text 17. I have heard that Visvasu, the great Gandharva, his mind is stupefied with infatuations, fell from his airplane after seeing your daughter playing with a ball on the roof of the palace. For she was indeed beautiful with her tinkling ankle bells and her eyes moving to and fro. Text 18. What wise man would not welcome her? The very ornament of womanhood, the beloved daughter of Swambhu Manu and sister of Tanpad. Those who have not worshipped the gracious feet of the goddess of fortune cannot even perceive her, yet she has come of her own escort to seek my hand. Text 19. Therefore I shall accept this chaste girl as my wife, on the condition that after she wears semen from my body, I shall accept the life of devotional service accepted by the most perfect human beings. That process was described by Lord Vishnu. It is free from envy. Text 20. The highest authority for me is the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom this wonderful creation emanates and in whom its sustenance and dissolution rest. He is the origin of all Prajapatis, the personalities meant to produce living entities in this world. Text 21. Sri Maitreya said, O great warrior Vidura, the sage Kardamba said this much only and then became silent, thinking of his worshipable Lord Vishnu, who has a lotus on his navel. As he silently smiled, his face captured the mind of Devhuti, who began to meditate upon the great sage. Text 22. After having unmistakably known the decision of the queen as well as that of Devhuti, the emperor most gladly gave his daughter to the sage, whose host of virtues was equalled by hers. Text 23. Empress, Empress Satrupa lovingly gave most valuable presents suitable for the occasion, such as jewelry, clothes, and household articles, in dowry to the bride and bridegroom. Text 24. Thus relieved of his responsibility by handing over his daughter to a suitable man, Swambhuva Manu, his mind agitated by feelings of separation, embraced his affectionate daughter with both his arms. Text 25. The emperor was unable to bear the separation of his daughter. Therefore, tears poured from his eyes again and again, drenching his daughter's head as he cried, "My dear mother, my dear daughter." Texts 26 to 27. After asking and obtaining the great sage's permission to leave, the monarch mounted his chariot with his wife and started for his capital, followed by his uh, retinue. Along the way, he saw the prosperity of the tranquil seer's beautiful hermitage on both the charming banks of the Saraswati, the river so agreeable to saintly persons. Text 28. Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarth to greet their returning lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments. Text 29 and 30. The city of the city of uh, Barishmati, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Bor. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusa grass and kasa, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their uh, sacrifices. Text 31. Manu spread a seat of kusas and kasas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Text 32. Having entered the city of Barishmati, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. Text 33. Emperor Swambhu Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor. And early in the morning, every day, he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart. Text 34. Thus Swambhuva Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in a Krishna conscious atmosphere. Text 35. Consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life, consisting of a Manvantar era, was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord. Text 36. He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the four ages, 71 into 4 like 32,000 years, always thinking of Vasudev and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudev. Thus he transcended the three destinations. Text 37. Therefore, O Budura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Krishna in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and other main enlivening creatures? Text 38. In reply to question asked by certain sages, he, Swambhu Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of man in general and the different varnas and asramas. Text 39. I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva, the original king whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devhuti. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा। कौन पढ़ना चाहेंगे? हिमांशु पढ़ना चाह रहे हैं क्या? भूपेश को आपने अनम्यूट किया, पढ़ना चाहते हैं, पढ़िए।
हाँ तो अभी खत्म हो जाएगा, तो मतलब 7 o'clock के अंदर कितना तो है, तो फिर तो मुझे थोड़ा स्पीडली पढ़ना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, मैं कंटिन्यू
7 है।
होगा, खत्म होगा प्रभु जी?
कर दीजिए, नहीं तो ये
हाँ,
थोड़ा मतलब ये वाला चैप्टर अगर ये वाला हो गया तो फ्राइडे तक शायद ये चैप्टर खत्म हो जाएगा। पढ़ लीजिए।
ठीक है, ठीक है, तो मैं थोड़ा स्पीड अप करता हूँ। हाँ जी,
हो जाएगा प्रभु जी, हो जाएगा।
हाँ ठीक है, ओके देन, ओके। Chapter 23, Devhuti's lamentation. Text 1. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devhuti, who would understand the desire of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves his husband. Text 2. O Vidura, Devhuti served her husband with intimacy and great respect, with control of the senses, with love and with sweet words. Text 3. Working sanely and diligently, she pleased her very powerful husband, giving up all the lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. Text 4 and 5. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. Thus she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in voice choked with great love. Kardama Muni said, O respectful daughter of Swayambhu Manu, today I am very much pleased with you for your great devotion and most excellent loving service. Since the body is so dear to embodied beings, I am astonished that you have neglected your own body to use it on my behalf. Text 7. Kardama Muni continued, I have achieved the blessing of the Lord in discharging my own religious life of austerities, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. Although you have not yet experienced these achievements, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them all to you because you are engaged in my service. Now just look at them. I am giving you the transcendental vision to see how nice they are. Next 8. Kardama Muni continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by movement of the eyebrows of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Text 9. Upon hearing the speaking of her husband, who excelled in knowledge of all kind of transcendental science, innocent Devhuti was very satisfied. Her smiling face shining with a slightly bashful glance, she spoke in choked voice because of great humility and love. Text 10. Devhuti said, my dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all the infallible mystic power, because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband. Text 11. Devhuti continued, my dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotions for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures, so that my skinny body emaciated through unsatisfied passion may be rendered fit for you. Also, my lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose. Text 12. Maitreya continued, O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Text 13. It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sort of jewels, adorned with pillars and precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth which tended to increase the course of time. Text 14-15. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags for festoon and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attract sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Text 16. The palace looked charming with beds, couches, fans, and seats, and separately arranged in 7 stories. Text 17. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The flowers of emerald with coral dices. Text 18. The palace was very beautiful with its coral threshold at the entrances, and its door bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. Text 19. With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Text 20. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as the artificial swans and pigeons too lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sound of these birds. Text 21. The castle has pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All these caused astonishment to the sage himself. Text 22. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus, he personally addressed his wife as follows. Text 23. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First, bathe in lake Vindhu Sarovar, created by the Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of human beings, and then mount this airplane. Text 24. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband because of her dirty dress and the locks of matter hair on her head. She didn't look very attractive. Text 25. Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt, and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake which contained the sacred water of Saraswati. Text 26. Inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. Text 27. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." 28. The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they gave her fine, nude, spotless cloth to cover her body. 29. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels, with shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and sweet inebriating drink called aswavam. Asavam. Is that asavam or asavam?
Asavam.
Guruji? Asavam, yeah. Okay. Text 30. Then in a mirror she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland, dressed in unsullied robes, and decorated with auspicious marks of tilaka. She was served very respectfully by the maid.
हाँ
Text 31.
हरे
Her
कृष्ण
entire
लंबा चैप्टर, इसको आधा आधा कर लें क्या? बहुत लंबा चैप्टर है ना.
तो बाकी में तो यहाँ से कंटिन्यू करते हैं, तो फिर नहीं तो
नहीं मतलब जैसे देख सकते अभी भी पढ़ सकते हैं, या तो कैसे कर सकते हैं, अब पढ़ना चाहें तो फिर कोई और भी पढ़ सकते हैं, ये बहुत लंबा है ना,
कर लेता
बहुत
हूँ
देर से पढ़ेंगे तो फिर
कर लेता हूँ
हाँ जी हाँ जी
पढ़ के खत्म करें.
ठीक है
अच्छा
हाँ जी
पढ़िए.
Text 31. Her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. 32. About her lips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. 33. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, depicted the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses. 34. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kadarma Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maid servants, at once appeared where she was. 35. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogi's power. 36 to 37. The sage could see that Devati had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her own original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming breast dully girded, she was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy, he is fondless of her brood, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. 38. Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort, while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory with his mastery over his self. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni, with his consort, shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes rows of lilies to open in ponds at night. 39. In that aerial mansion, he traveled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasured of the gods, who were surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoyed pleasure. Kardama Muni also, surrounded by the beautiful dancers and his wife, went there and enjoyed for many years. 40. Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion not only on Mount Meru but in different gardens known as Vaishramvaka, Surasana Nandana, Pushpa Bhadraka, and Chaitra Rakhya, and by the Manas Sarovara lake. 41. He traveled in that way through the various planets as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction, coursing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion, which could fly at his will. He surpassed even the demigods. 42. What is difficult to achieve for the determined men who have taken refuge at the supreme personality of Godhead's lotus feet. These feet are the source of sacred rivers like the Ganges, which put an end to the dangers of mundane life. 43. After showing his wife the globe of the universe and its different arrangements, full of many wonders, the great yogi Kadarma Muni returned to his own hermitage. 44. After coming back to his hermitage, he divided himself into 9 personalities just to give pleasure to Devavati, the daughter of Mala, who was eager for sex life. In that way, he enjoyed with her for many years, which was just like a moment. 45. In that aerial mansion, Devamati, in company of her handsome husband, situated on an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, could not realize how much time was passing. 46. While the couple who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed like a brief span of time. 47. The powerful Kadama Muni was knower of everyone's heart, and he could grant whatever one desired. Knowing the spiritual soul, he regarded her as half his body. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he impregnated Devotee with 9 discharges of semen. 48. Immediately afterward, on the same day, Devotee gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of the red lotus flower. 49. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but at heart she was agitated and distressed. 50. She stood and scratched the ground with her foot, which was radiant with the luster of her gem-like nails. Her head bent down. She spoke in low yet charming accents, surpassing her tears. 51. She Devotee said, "My lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me. Yet, because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too." 52. My dear Brahmana, as far as your daughters are concerned, you will find their suitable husbands and go away to their respective homes. But who will give me solace after your departure as a sannyasi? 53. Until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time in sense gratification, neglecting to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme God. 54. Not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the object of senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all. 55. Aspiration for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same तो भी थोड़ा ऊपर कर लीजिए वो आ रहा है फिर इसके सारे अच्छे से aspiration for sense gratification is certainly the path of the path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with a sensitive person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. 56. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life. Anyone whose ritualistic performances do not lead him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered that, although he is breathing. 57. My Lord, surely I have been solidly seated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for in spite of having obtained the recitation, which gives liberation from mental bondage, I did not seek such liberation.
हरे कृष्ण गुरु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम
कौन सा चैप्टर है ये?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dhanatra.
Third chapter,
गुरु जी ये
21 chapter.
23.
23 चैप्टर गुरु जी
23.
ओके, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चैप्टर्स पढ़ रहे हैं आप, है ना?
जी जी गुरु जी
मेरे को काफी डिटैचमेंट आ चुका होगा आप लोगों को।
Yes.
आया क्या किसी को?
Yes,
आया क्या किसी
Prabhuji.
को डिटैचमेंट?
Detachment. नहीं
थोड़ा
तो
नॉलेज आ रहा है
detachment
गुरु जी
पे
फिर
knowledge में
रियलाइजेशन
सर
आएंगे
नॉलेज आ रहा है, डिटैचमेंट नहीं आ रहा है?
गुरु जी
ऐसा कैसे होता है? चलिए ठीक है, कुछ तो आ रहा है। हरे कृष्ण। अब रस लेंगे, रस। वैराग्य शिक्षा बहुत हो गई है, थोड़ा रस लेंगे। शुरू करिए।
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामि ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। नमो श्रीमते कृष्ण विष्णु भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती गौरवाणी विचारिणे विशेष शून्यवाद पश्चातादिस्तारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada was chapter 113, naming my son Prabhupada's gifts. October 8, 1974, ISKCON Mayapur. On the afternoon of October 8, I received an exciting telegram. My wife had delivered a baby